our friend Sanjeet Paul Chowdhury, who we had on the show a couple months ago, posted an interesting thing on LinkedIn. He was talking about how he sees that there's a strange idea going around about how HR and IT should merge and we should be treating AI agents like workers. And he thought that this was a terrible idea because AI agents should be thought of as capital assets and rather than operating expenses. So I wanted to get your thoughts, Meg, on this topic.
First off, one of the things that I like about the way that Sanjeet looks at the world is, with a very systems thinking lens. And so when I read this, first off, I loved the fact that he just drew it right back to capital allocation, because if you talk to any board member, that's what we talk about. I think to remind our listeners a little bit that capital allocation is just a fancy way to talk about where are you investing and why are you investing. Now Sanjeet's point gets a little easier if you think in terms of robotics, right? So just setting aside AI agents, and we'll come back to it. If you think in terms of where we have shifted from humans to machines, and maybe the most recent Amazon layoff is a really good one because they're using a lot of robotics in their warehouses, it's easy to understand that you're dealing with the trade-offs of automation, and that automation requires things that you would typically think of balance sheet things. It's depreciated assets. What's big about this idea is it suggests that you need to think big, and you need to think in terms of something that you would pay off over a long period of time versus something incremental. I think where it gets more nuanced is the fact that these agent side taking on tasks, doing work, starts to look a little bit different than robotics in several use cases, and much more as task completion type activities. And I think in those cases, all of the things that we've discussed, which is what about oversight? Who's responsible? Mm-hmm. How do we manage the productivity and the focus of that work?
I think a point that you're making too is that like a lot of it is like kind of micro tasks too. So it's very embedded in the workflow rather than like, a machine that's at least in the current time, it's very much like incorporated into a human workflow where there's humans and agents together, and how they're interacting and who's doing what. So there's a lot of like coordination between humans and AI agents that needs to be managed.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And I think here's where it gets really interesting. I think we lump all of this together in this like enthusiasm and conversation around AI. And I actually think we're having multiple conversations here, which is truly about so many parts of work and of kind of like the foundations of our economy are ripe for change here. Some pieces through robotics and new, what I would traditionally have thought of as hardware, right? Like Waymo being maybe one example, or like I said, the Amazon warehouse piece being one example. Things that are going to be specialized machines coming in to change how the work happens and to maybe even introduce new work. And some of it is going to be more in this augmentation side, which is pairing up or siding by how humans do work and thinking about what that means. And I think that the way you pay for it, the way you support it, the infrastructure you need to decide what to invest in and what not to invest in, all of that is really disrupted. So what I like about Sanjeev's point is that he's trying to push boards and C-suites to think about how are they allocating for the future and how are they thinking about applying capital to automation in the future.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be not at all common to have like this one leader that he was saying he's hearing about. But I think that, there will be some cases but it's a very specialized skill set, a very special kind of person that kind of see across all those things.
I think no matter how you look at it, like your job has an opportunity to get bigger or smaller, but staying the same is not going to happen.
Yeah. And then the last thing about the post that I found just absolutely hysterical was the irony of him arguing that they need to be thought of as assets and capital, and how the HR community has been arguing for the last 30 years that people should be considered capital assets in
Right.
companies. So anyway, I thought that was a very funny parallel.
100%. And I think this is like a presenting symptom of the complexity going forward. I really, really think that this question is going to keep percolating, and I think it gets a little bit more acute because of the financial engineering that we're starting to see happen, where people are trying to leverage debt more. They're trying to figure out how to move these things off their income statements, trying to protect quarterly earnings, trying to show things as cost reduction. I think all of those things are at play as well. And so again, I think it's going to be a very bumpy ride. And I actually think this is the piece that Sanjit's trying to unlock, which is, hey, we need to think of these as long-term investments that are capital intensive, that create value for a longer horizon.
Yeah. There was that part of it too.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was kind of separate.
I think it's a good reminder to come back to the idea that AI is a bit like electricity. We all use it. We use it different ways, and we create different things with it. I think we need to think about that really, really deeply. Like it cannot become your business. It has to become a lever for your business growth.